Primetime with a battle of the unbeaten. Bruce Smith is back for Buffalo, but the Bears try to wrestle away another win. Across the country, the Niners say hello to some old friends and new foes. In Dallas, the Cowboys are talking about a new era. They may also be talking about a new one in New York. Once again, the Saints lower the boom on defense, and Barry Sanders weaves his way into the end zone. Hey, we're doing double duty. Primetime is dead. There are other people just sitting here. I don't understand it. Hi, everybody. I'm Chris Berman, and welcome to week number 5 of ESPN's NFL Primetime. An intriguing week, as always, and there's no way I could describe it all to you myself. That's why I have my helpers. Actually, I help them. Tom Jackson, Robin Roberts. We got some stuff to show, and so why don't we do that, right? A lot of late games today being played around the National Football League. Let's quickly charge those scores. In the reunion game, all field goals. Raiders got 4 of them, Niners 2 of them. Niners are 2-3 as the Raiders beat them at the Mausoleum 12-6. Highlights of that game a little bit later on. The Seattle Seahawks, with under 2 minutes to go now, they started Dan McGuire at quarterback. He wasn't great, but he didn't have to be. Seahawks all over the Colts, 31-3. That is late in the 4th at the Kingdome. San Diego was close to winning their first game of the year, but they were stopped inches short on a key drive. The Chiefs hold on to beat them at the Murph, 14-13. Also, it's now just the final. The Jets, who said they'd be hung over after that Monday night tough loss in overtime, they rolled at home over the Dolphins, 41-23. Also a final. In the heated Phoenix, the Cardinals beat the Patriots 24-10. And in Anaheim, the Rams and the Packers and the Rams have won that game by a deuce. Packers come back with a late touchdown, but it's set it up as the Rams win at 23-21. Highlights of all those games, plus updates of the late scores of the game still going on a little bit later in NFL Primetime. But where do we begin? I'll tell you where we'll begin. In the Silverdome with a team, the Detroit Lions, that lost the opening week of the year at Washington 45-0. We even on game day went up there and figured, well, what is wrong with the Lions? What's wrong with Wayne Fontes? Answer, nothing. If they could beat the Bucs today, they would up their record to 4-1 and just maybe tie themselves for first in the NFC Central. Let's see what happens as Vinny Testaverde sidelined for the winless Bucs today. Never on the sidelines except week 1 for the Lions, Barry Sanders. When he plays, they score. William Frizzell doesn't have a chance. 8-yard touchdown, and the Lions lead it 7-0. Next possession, Rodney Peete. He's listed as doubtful for every game, but nothing doubtful about this pass. Right on the money to Willie Green. Green, the number of money. It's touchdown, 14-0. Wayne Fontes' club is up. Rookie Glenn Rogers starting in place of Wayne Haddix. And Rodney Peete worked on him quickly. Robert Clark steps in front of Rogers for a 12-yard gain. Wayne Fontes says, that's a good idea. So 2 plays later, Rodney Peete going for the 6 to Robert Clark. Defensive interference on Glenn Rogers, no question here, Tom.
Really bad play by Glenn Rogers. As you watch the replay here, he never gets the head around. He gets his hands all over the receiver. Obvious call for the referee.
Richard Williamson pulls Glenn and replaces him with a veteran Carl Carter. At quarterback, the man who replaced Vinny was Chris Chandler, but Benny Blades nails him after the throw. And Detroit showing they can play some D, Tom.
Well, one of the much improved areas on this team, their ability to rush the passer. Here, the whole defensive line gets through to Chandler.
As Chandler has to leave with a mild concussion, Vinny warming up there at Chandler's numbers. Good Testaverde do better. Well, he completed his first 4 passes, but then Vinny trying to find an open receiver. Pumps once. Sheldon White almost has the interception. Chandler can't watch. He heads for the locker room. The Bucs should have headed for the locker room because they're down 24-3. Watch Barry Sanders. He heads for the end zone. What? Get him going. Get on the outside. He did not step out of bounds. He could go all the way. 69 yards for a touchdown. The Lions lead at 31-3. Sanders, a $160 and 3 touchdowns. First time he's ever scored 3 in a game. Celebration. Wayne Fontes says, surprise, surprise. If the Bears lose to Buffalo, we're tied for first place. The Lions all over the Buccaneers, 31-3. And, Tommy, we watched this game. You have an astute comment on this?
Well, you know, listen to this. This is very important.
Out here.
The Buccaneers are not very good, and Barry Sanders is very good. Huh?
Very good.
Enough said.
We hired you for that? Sometimes football is a simple game, isn't it?
Very
Barry
much.
Sanders good. The Bucs are winless, and the Lions are 4-1 after that horrid start. As we look inside the numbers, we showed you a little bit about the Detroit Lions defense. Check out what they did against Washington and getting bombed on Nitro an opening week. And then the last 4 games, they've given up a total of 54 points. I mean, that's barely more than they did in the first week. Rushing yards allowed. The last 4 combined, all wins, barely more than they gave up week 1. Sacks, they've got 9 the last 4. No wonder Detroit is doing it. They got Barry Sanders and they got defense. Coming up next, prime time. No, it's the Saints that are prime time players. We'll be back with that game and more.
NFL Primetime is brought to you by Dollar Rent-A-Car. Right on the airports, right on the money.
Welcome back to Primetime. It's now a final. Welcome all those of you that have watched in the Kingdom. The Seahawks beat the Colts 31-3, and we'll have highlights of that later on. Baseball score. The Braves took 13 innings. They blew a big lead, but came back in the 13th to win it 6-5 on Brian Hunter's double. Why do we give this score? Well, because at the top of the hour, Brett Butler, the former Giant, now Los Angeles Dodger, maybe their MVP. The Dodgers host the Giants on ESPN at 8 Eastern Time. If they lose, there'll be a flat-footed tie atop the NL West. If they win, the Dodgers stay 1 up. With a week to go, you'll want to see that one. That's the baseball Giants. The football Giants were in a hard-hitting divisional rival with the Dallas Cowboys. Some hard knocks that went right down to the fight. Last 6 times. This is a pivotal game for both, but especially the Super Bowl champs. If they lost, they go 2-3, and a big ball game for both Ray Handley, the rookie coach, and Jeff Hostetler, his starting quarterback. But Dallas has a pretty good quarterback, too, named Troy Aikman. Giants can hit. We know that. Aikman to the rookie Alvin Harper, nailed by the former Cowboy Everson Walls.
And Alvin Harper proves he's a pretty tough receiver running that pattern, knowing that he's going to get hit. He holds on to the football.
Aikman to another youngster, Michael Irvin. Irvin first gets hit by Walls. He gets around, but look what happened at that. And Walls, he recovers for the Giants, who sidestep a Dallas Bullet. What about the Giant offense? Jeff Hostetler on fire to Dave Meggett, and look at that little Meggett run. He runs for 20 yards, and the Giants are moving the ball. Then Haas to number 85, Stephen Baker, makes the quick turn and then runs backwards, so it ends up being an 11-yard pickup. The Haas out of the shotgun. And look at that little Meggett run. Dave Meggett catches it for a 12-yard pickup. The Haas in the first half, 13 of 16 for a buck 47. He is throwing often, but the Giants aren't scoring often. Deep in the red zone, Lewis Tillman. It's a boo-boo. Larry Brown, what, he changed coaching jobs again? No, this is the Cowboys secondary, man. He makes the fumble recovery at the 1-yard line. Cowboys in offense, if you've got this guy in the backfield, you might as well go to him. Number 22, Emmitt Smith, runs for 2. It's a touchdown. The Giants moving it through the air, but the Cowboys lead it 7-3 at the half. Second half, Giants on offense, first play from scrimmage. The number 1 draft pick, the big fullback, Jared Funch, catches the ball from Hostetler. It's stripped by Ray Horton, who hears a who. He picks it up, and he hears a touchdown. 21 yards, and the Cowboys leading the Giants 21-3. Giants offense fumbled only 9 times all last year. Already through 5 weeks, 7. That's not Giants football. Giants try it again. Haas. Mark Ingram, it's 13 yards. And the Giants trying to get out of the shadow of their own goal line. Hostetler. The bomb. Mark Ingram as he beats Isaac Holt. The longest pass play of the year for the Dreamers. Giants have trouble scoring again. A 3rd and 1 in the 6th. Rodney Hampton, forget it. Jeff Coat and Ken Norton Jr. hits her right to the face and a left to the jaw, just like his daddy would have done. Settled for a field goal. It's 14-6. Dallas. Giants offensive line trying to get it going. Late 3rd. Haas. Stephen Baker. 15 yards over the midfield stripe. Same drive, it changed directions, goes to the 4th quarter. Hostetler zips it to Stephen Baker down to the 26-yard line. 3rd and 1 at the 3. O.J. Anderson, not even all reliable, can get in there. He is stopped. 4th and 1, Ray Handley says, well, we're going to try and draw them offside. Didn't work for a delay, so they get penalized for a delay of game. That was his strategy. They sent Barr on, who's been automatic this year. They have over 350 yards of offense, but they still trail 14-9. Meanwhile, scary moment, Lawrence Taylor, obvious pain, fortunate. X-rays of his left wrist were negative. 4th quarter, first play of a drive for the Giants. Haas to Mark Ingram. 41 yards, beats Holt again. Holt backing up.
Well, Holt plays a little bit off the receiver here, a little bit too far off, prevents a completed pass.
And Haas to Stephen Baker. He zipped it for 19 yards and touchdown. Did the ball bounce in front of Larry Brown? He thinks so. But after further review, we're going to let it go. And it's 16-14. Giants with a gamble to kick the field goal, then go for the touch later. Pays off for Ray Handley. But look at Troy Aikman. They couldn't do this a couple of years ago, could the Cowboys? But Aikman to Irvin, 32 yards. Harry Williams is beaten on the play. Aikman to Irvin. Mark Collins first gets beat, then gets dished. Touchdown, 2:13 to go. 21-16, Dallas. Here come the Giants. Another good-looking rookie, Ed McCaffrey from Stanford, makes the catch before he's upended by Ray Horton. A minute to go. Haas looking for Baker in the end zone. It's a good toss. But Isaac Holt has him covered perfectly. It's the INT. So despite a day passing of 368 yards, only 6 incompletions in 34 attempts. It's Aikman and the Cowboys that stand taller than the Giants. They're the ones 3-2. The Giants are 2-3, and Dallas wins a very good football game in Big D, 21-16. Tommy, for whatever reason, you want to blame someone 2-3 or blame a few people for whatever reason, 2-3, not good for the Giants.
No, not good at all, Chris. And you look at those statistics, those passing stats. Obviously, this game not Hostetler's fault. But I think what the Giants have an obvious problem with is turnovers. And when you turn that ball over in the red zone, you're not going to win very many football games. And talking to Coach Ray Handley a couple of weeks ago, he said, I've got to get Hampton, Tillman, Bunch more involved in the offense. But I think when you get in that red zone, you've got to go to old reliable O.J. Anderson. Last year, 225 carries, only 1 fumble. That's what they need in that red zone.
Well, if the Giants now see Washington beat Philadelphia Monday night, if that happens, Giants will be behind by 3 games,
Big
5
game.
games in. Robin, let's shift it over to the NFC West, where the Saints really have an opportunity to go 3 up just 5 games in.
That's right. They would face Deion Sanders. He's seen a lot of Fulton County Stadium, but the Saints weren't impressed. The Saints were going for their first perfect September in their 25-year history, and yes, their defense has had a big part in that. They're number 1 in the league against the rush, number 2 overall, and I don't think Chris Miller was looking forward to facing the Saints linebackers, and they would be in Miller's face all day long. Who'd have thought those Saints would be 4-0? I think these guys thought that. The best linebackers in the business. Jackson, Swilling, Mills, and Johnson. Jerry Glanville says, we got to play those guys? Yes, you do, Chris Miller. Eric Pegram stuck for a loss by Vaughn Johnson. Pegram rushed 4 times for -2 yards. Andre Rison cut down by Ricky Jackson, a 9-yard loss. Rison caught only 1 pass for 9 yards. Miller nailed by Ricky Jackson. The Falcons recover the fumble. Miller, he is pressured again. Now watch this, TJ. Chris Miller going back, sacked from behind by Mr. Jackson.
And Robin, as if Ricky Jackson needs help getting to the quarterback, you watch All-Pro tackle Chris Hinton here, give him a push so that he makes sure he gets the sack.
Ricky Jackson with 3 of the Saints' 5 sacks, and he also recovered a fumble. Meanwhile, how did Deion do against the Saints D? Well, Deion back to receive the punt, and he gathers it in, takes off, he fumbles. The ref helps him out, says he was down. So the Saints, they tried again. Jim Wilkes knocks the ball loose from Mike Rozier. Gene Atkins scoops up the loose ball, laterals it to Vince Buck. They're just having fun. But the refs help out again, say, Saints, you guys are offsides, no TD. 3rd time's a charm, but not for the Saints. Bobby Hebert to John Tice, Jesse Tuggle nails him. Ken Tippins tiptoes in for the touchdown. They had to look at this a couple times, but the touchdown stood. 6-3 Falcons after the missed PAT, and Jim Moore just a little bit concerned. But the Saints would straighten out their receiving problems. Late in the 2nd quarter, Bobby Hebert to Floyd Turner. He stays on his feet, goes 47 yards. Okay, Deion, you can come along for the ride.
A lot of athletic talent in that secondary, but very poor fundamentals when it comes to getting the receiver on the ground. First by Scott Case, and then at the goal line by Neon Deion.
Trying to strip him of the ball. 10-6 Saints at the half. Jerry Glanville, I didn't teach him how to tackle like that. Turner picked up in the 2nd half where he left off. Hebert just lays it right over the Falcons' D. Turner scoring twice in the same game for the first time in his career. Morris says, Bobby, you do that. Saints fans are going to forgive you. Floyd Turner with 4 catches, 90 yards, 2 touchdowns. Saints continue to swarm on D. Mills stands up Tracy Johnson, and everybody gets in on the fun. Then Gene Atkins blitzes, and Miller loses the ball again. And it was a rough day, to say the least, for Chris Miller. I told you those linebackers would be in his face all day long. Late in the fourth, little icing on the cake. Dalton Hilliard feeling just fine, thank you very much. He had to sit out the game last week against the Vikings. 65-yard touchdown run. The Saints roll 27-6. And Glanville just dumbfounded by that Saints D. 27-6 is the final. Chris Miller sacked 5 times today. The Falcons had given up a total of 5 sacks in their previous 4 games combined. Now, we've been talking about on game day and on prime time the Saints' excellent linebacking core, but TJ, do you see a little reversal going on with Pat Swilling and Ricky Jackson?
Well, it's so strange, and it's so much fun to watch these guys play. But, you know, when Pat Swilling first came into the league, he received a lot of single blocking combinations because of Ricky Jackson. You had to watch him so closely. Pat Swilling improved. All of a sudden they said, well, let's go to the single blocking combinations on Ricky Jackson. Hey, when you've got 4 like this, you don't know who to block.
Yeah, and when you got a defense like that, chances are they play like that, you're going to be 5-0, and that's what the New Orleans Saints are right now. If we go inside the numbers, you compare the first 5 games last year against their first 5 games this year defensively. Points scored, they've halved that, and what they've allowed, just 47 points allowed in 5 games, under 10 a game. Takeaways are up. Sacks are up, not by that much because they still had those linebackers last year. But the most important stat of all, the record is way up. They're in first by a long shot. 2 undefeated teams just like the Saints met in Buffalo. Could the Bears machine gun Jim Kelly and the Bills? We'll be back. The first 4 weeks, the Chicago Bears, winner of all the close games, and the Buffalo Bills. They met at Rich Stadium. Would the Bears win another nail-biter? Or would the Bills do what they do to everybody at home, i.e. blow them out? Well, early on, Mike Ditka's club had the way against Marv Levy's club. Bills welcome back for the first time this year, Bruce Smith. And Tommy, this is awful.
Oh, Chris, you do not do this in this game. Everybody is trying to make a living. Bruce Smith will not soon forget it.
It was James Rouse. Bruce, you now know who it was. Jim Kelly didn't have Don Beebe's number. He didn't have James Lofton's number early. And Lofton, the Bears' good pass defense does the job. So early on, the Bills sputtering. Chicago doing what they do best, ground control. Neil Anderson, ground control to Major Neal, 8 yards. Second quarter, Anderson is up the middle. Nice block by Van Horn on the plate, 14 yards. Jim Harbaugh, boy, has he looked great this year. Zips it into Anderson, 24 yards, sets up a Butler field goal, 3-0 Chicago. But the Bears wasted opportunities. It looks like a touchdown pass to Neil Anderson, but offensive pass interference called. Negates the TD. They settle for a field goal at 6-0. And then Mike Ditka's club ruins a golden opportunity. Mark Carrier, Pro Bowler as rookie last year, picks up Kelly. He could go all the way, except for one minor detail.
You have to be on the field to finally feel exactly what you want to do. Tim Ryan replacing Trace Armstrong, obviously offside, cost him a touchdown.
Certainly did. But first 5 possessions for the Bills, only 38 yards of total offense until the 2-minute warning. Kelly to Thermal Thomas. Black and a tip for 19 yards. Kelly, well, that'll work, to Thermal Thomas for 5. Just a 2-minute drill. Kelly to Al Edwards for 11. Kelly to the veteran James Lofton for 12. And all of a sudden, an offense that had been bottled up is now rolling. Kelly to Andre Reed for 11. Now look at McMichael. This is his new career.
Well, a la Monday night against the Jets, Steve McMichaels is reaching in there. Not so much concerned about getting the tackle as he is getting that ball, but Thurman Thomas has a handle on it. They stand there for a little while. The whistle obviously blows before McMichael can get the ball out.
And Thurman's determination enables Kelly to hit Al Edwards. Forget all the big names. 1 week it was Beebe 4 times. This is Al Edwards. And the Bears outplayed him in the first half, and they trail at 7-6. First drive of the second half for the Buffalo Bills. Thurman Thomas going to move outside for 12 yards. Why don't we give it to number 34, again, the best all-purpose back in football, Thermal, for another 8 yards. And then Thurman Thomas. It's a good idea, Tom.
What a burst he has once he gets through the line of scrimmage.
That was 19 yards. Then Kelly to Keith McKellar, the tight end, for 15. 3rd and goal, and Kelly's going to call his own number. He's tough, but Mike Singletary was tougher, and it's 4th and goal. A big play. Carwell Gardner stopped. It's a fumble, and it's Gardner in the end zone. Not the old-fashioned way. Not the way they draw it up, but it works.
Great alertness by Gardner. He feels that ball slipping out as he gets to the 1-yard line. You can see him trying to scoop it up there. He's alert enough to get up, beat everybody else to the football for the touchdown.
14-6 Buffalo. The next time the Bills have the ball, 3rd and 14, Kelly to Thomas for 15 yards and a first down. On the next play, 10 receptions in a row for touchdowns for Butch, Shake, Rattle, and Roll. It's 21-6 Buffalo. The Bears, next time they have the ball, Jim Harbaugh to Wendell Davis, and it's 1st and goal, Chicago. They're not dying. But on 4th and goal, Neil Anderson is stopped by the Bills defense. Nate Odom's making the first hit. Goal line stand for the Bills, and they take over. After a 4 and out, the Bears have it again. Neil Anderson, 21 yards on the sweep. A few plays later, Anderson gets in the end zone, and it's an 8-point game, 21-13. Now, a lot of teams would get the ball on their own 23, just try and use the clock because they're ahead by 2 scores. Not Buffalo, 1 play. Kelly to the veteran James Lofton, who turns to the Bears. Remember, he was once a Packer, and he said, for years you gave me a hard time. Now I'm giving you a hard time. Touchdown, 28-13. Jim Kelly, 303 yards passing. Each team scored another touchdown late. Somebody predicted that the Bills would win by 15, and they did. The Bills beat the Chicago Bears 35-20. Thurman Thomas had 147 yards total on offense, had 117 on rushing. And the Lofton number you see there, he's now 4th on the all-time list in receptions as he's passed Ozzie Newsome on that all-time list. Bruce Smith back in the lineup defensively for Buffalo, Tommy. I think it made a difference.
Well, I think the first month of the season, a lot of people trying to measure what Bruce Smith means to this club. And it's not only what he brings physically, it's what he does to this team as far as their attitude. This team has been giving up almost 150 yards a game against other teams running the football. And today, they only gave up 84 yards. I think Bruce Smith's presence speaks for itself.
It certainly did. And at home, Buffalo has now won 28 of their last 30 games. They've won 13 in a row at home now. Interesting to note that on their 12-game winning streak in today's score. Well, what was today's score as we go inside the numbers? Well, that was 35-20. In the 12-game winning streak at Rich Stadium before today, average score, 35-20. It's like clockwork. And the Bills are 5-0. The Bears finally lose their first game. But again, they were valiant in a very, very tough place to work. We'll be back with more. All the late highlights. We've got all the monitors working on NFL Primetime. And their catcher, Mike Novososha, try and hang on to first place in the NL West if they can beat the arch-rival Giants. If they lose, it'll be the tie for first in the NL West with a week to go in baseball. We cover all the sports for you here. We're like Deion Sanders. Anyway, let's go to some of the late games. And at Anaheim today, 2 once very proud teams, the Packers and the Rams, with 2 one-time very proud quarterbacks, Don Majkowski and Jim Everett, tried to reestablish their identity at the Big A in Anaheim in the shadow of the Red Onion. 2 quarterbacks, the Magic Man and Jim Everett. On the Packers' first possession, the Magic Man, it's the end of the innocence. He's picked off by Darrell Henley. Meanwhile, Jim Everett, Tommy, on the other side of the ball continues to struggle.
Well, here you see Everett going to his left. He feels the pressure. He starts to show a little bit of nervousness. He's trying to direct traffic, but he throws an absolute horrible pass. I don't think he ever saw where it was going. And he feels pressure again. Another bad incompletion.
Now, whenever it was on, his teammates were picking up the pace of the way Everett's been playing. He hits Aaron Cox. He's going to bad. And Bryce Pop in on another play. That led to Majkowski. Couldn't handle the ball in his own end zone last week, but on the quarterback draw, he runs it from 2 yards out. The Packers lead it 7-3. But on the play, Majkowski separates his left shoulder. He did not return. Packers lead it 7-6. Allen Rice fumbles. Paul Butcher recovers for the Rams, and that leads to Robert Del Pino's. Had a nice year, diving over the tie. And he stretches the ball out for touchdown, 13-7 L.A. On the ensuing kickoff, one-time Pro Bowler by Sikahema. Hit by that man, Paul Butcher again. He's USDA grade because he causes a fumble, and Anthony Newman picks it up and runs it in for a touchdown. 20-7 Rams at the half. Blair Winged Keel tried to rally the pack. Here he hits Perry Kemp. Makes a nice move and takes it all the way down to the Ram 12-yard line. Kemp would later score on a 2-yard touchdown pass at 23-14 Rams. Then Keel, scrambling. Shows good speed, races upfield for 25 yards. 3 plays later, Keel to Vince Workman, my way back to you, babe, as in the end zone. 23-21, the Pack within 2. Could the Rams hold on 3rd and 2? Everett to Henry Ellard for a big pickup. It's a first down. The Rams run out the clock. Everett and Mikowski meet at midfield to talk it over. But it was the Rams doing the happier talking as they win at 23-21. 11 straight times now. The Pack has lost on the road at Anaheim or other places like the Coliseum to the Rams. Last time they beat the Rams on the West Coast was 1966. And the Pack continue to stumble at 1-4, Tommy.
Well, you know, Chris, you and Robin and myself, we sit around, we watch a lot of football. I think we all have a real respect for Lindy Infani's ability to coach. How bad are the Packers when they can make Lindy Infani look like he doesn't know what he's doing as a head coach?
That's a good point there. Mikowski looks lost, the offense looked lost, and we know Lindy isn't lost. But the Packers have lost more than they've won, that's for sure. We've got other live highlights coming up on this edition of NFL Primetime. The Jets, Blair Thomas trying to redeem himself after last Monday night against the Dolphins. And 49er quarterback Steve Young being ganged up by the silver and black of the LA Raiders. Stay with us, folks. And they said they wanted to use Fred McGriff at tight end if the Falcons could use Dion, because they need something. The Chargers don't have a bad team, but they're 0-4 going in against a good team.
And the Swami went with this one with the Chargers.
Always dangerous.
Okay, well, the Chiefs have allowed just 50 points this season, the fewest in the AFC, while the Chargers, the Lightning Bolts, they've given up 100 points, third most in the league. The two do have something in common. Both AFC teams are the only two in the AFC that have not allowed a 100-yard rusher, a 100-yard receiver, or a 300-yard passer. Got all that? Well, we'll see if that changed. Opening kickoff, Chiefs rookie Harvey Williams runs into a pack at the 20, and Chris, he gets loose, and what? He could go?
He could go all the way.
Psych. No, not this time. He's pulled down by a face mask at the Charger 15-yard line. Well, Christian Okoye went in for the touchdown later. San Diego counters with Ron Bernstein at the 14 yards. Bernstein breaks tackles to the 8-yard line, and he'll go the final 2 yards for the touchdown. Bernstein with 113 yards, so much for the Chiefs not allowing a 100-yard rusher, 7 all tied. Second quarter, Steve DeBerg play fakes to Barry Word, then throws to Word, then to Berg. Same thing to Christian Okoye, down to the 34-yard line. Tough running by the big guy, TJ.
Well, when you have guys as big as Word and Okoye not known as a very good receiver, if you can get them the football and get them into that secondary, those are the kind of wrecks that you'll have.
That'll happen. And DeBerg will finish it off, looks it over, goes 11 yards to Rob Thomas for the touchdown. 14-7 Chiefs at the half. DeBerg feeling pretty darn good. Second half, John Freeze at the helm. Fakes the reverse and then hits Bernstein down to the 11-yard line. But on third down at the 8, Freeze, he's locked into his receiver and then throws incomplete, ignoring a wide open Craig McEwen. San Diego kicks a field goal, 14-10 Chiefs. Fourth quarter, Freeze dumps it to Marion Butts. He breaks tackles. And this big guy is off and rumbling down to the 9-yard line with some pretty doggone hard running. But on third and goal, disaster strikes. Neil Smith pounds Freeze right there, forcing the fumble. Derek Walker recovers for San Diego, but they settle for the field goal again to cut it to 14-13. They blow opportunities. 14-13 is the final. The Chargers are still winless. Let's go to the Kingdom and check in on the Colts and the Seahawks. Seattle president and GM Tom Flores looking for some early offense. First quarter, Seahawks drove on 8 straight rushes. John L. Williams goes 6 yards up the middle for the touchdown. First Seattle score in the first quarter all season long. While the running, Dan McGuire playing in his first regular season game. He throws up a duck. Mike Pryor just picks it off. And McGuire was not looking sharp in his first start. Now, Seattle would find other ways to score. Chris Warren returning a Ron Stark punt. Warren gets some blocks, and he is going to go all the way. 59 yards for the score. but there was a question on this play. But as we see, Chris Warren's toe stays in bounds. His heel never touches the line. It is indeed a touchdown. 17-0 Seattle. What else could go wrong for Ron Meyer? More injuries. Jeffress Moss started off with a sprained knee. Randy Dixon carried off with problems in his calf. With all the injuries, the hands of Jeff George were not so steady. Second quarter, Jeff George, his pass is deflected by Tony Woods. Jacob Green, a defensive end, makes the interception. George, 17 of 31, 114 yards, 2 interceptions. The Colts look for Eric Dickerson. Nailed again. This time, barely avoids a safety. Dickerson only 42 yards rushing. Jeff Kemp at the helm. You see what happens. Seattle 24-3. The Seahawks defense got nasty. The Colts got ornery. Patrick Hunter throws Clarence Verdeen into the turf. Cortez Kennedy sacks Jeff George. He doesn't even have a helmet. Goes after Cortez Kennedy. Clarence Verdeen and Patrick Hunter go at it. Both players were ejected. This was just an ugly, ugly game. With Seattle picking up the victory, the Colts are still winless. They were, before this game, the only undefeated AFC team in the Kingdome, but that was way back when a guy named Burt Jones was the quarterback.
You know what? Through 5 weeks, Chip Lohmiller has more points than the Colts. That's
a frightening
that's
thought.
pretty bad. And by the way, for what you did before, throwing the flag,
I deserve it.
don't ever do that again. We're all friends here in NFL Primetime. When we come back, we have more late highlights. We've got to show you the Raiders and the San Francisco 49ers in a wild game between the Jets and Dolphins, and the Cards and the Pats. Bye, Pats. There's been a lot of 100-yard rushing games thus far this year. Barry Sanders, no stranger to this list. Neither is Thurman Thomas. The big guy, Rod Bernstein, charged for over the C-note in a loss by the Lightning Bolt. We'll be back. Next 300 wins took the Miami Dolphins into the Meadowlands against the New York Jets, who had lost 2 tough games to the Bills, and then on Monday night against the Bears. Would they be hung over? That was the question you have to ask about a young team. Jeff Lageman, all fired up, though the Jets didn't look hung over. First play from scrimmage, Blair Thomas coughed off the ball late in Chicago. This time he runs for 24 yards. Typical Tommy.
Another outstanding running back named Thomas, who sees the field very well, has that good vision, and runs with that low center of gravity.
You know what the Jets have is some very good skill players. Ken O'Brien to Rob Moore, number 85, catches the touchdown. Late hit, that's ridiculous. The Jets lead it 7-0. Don Shula looking up at the board and doesn't like what he sees. Sammy Smith, first carry of 91, loses 5 yards thanks to Dennis Big Bird. Dan Marino goes to his old standby. Keith, forget Marino to Clayton. It's Marino to Keith Sims. That set up a field goal. Then Marino to Mark Duper. Oh, yeah, we remember that combination, 30 yards. Miami leads at 10-7. Late in the first half, Brad Baxter burrows his way in from 2 yards out. The Jets lead 14-10. Miami wants to doesn't look like Joe Klecko. Marino incomplete out of bounds. So by going for it to Tony Martin, incomplete, the clock stops again. And then Marino going for the downs. The clock stops again, but with seconds to go, they punt it. Wrong move. Chris Burkett blocks the punt by Reggie Roby, picks it up himself. It's a touchdown. 11 yards. The Jets lead at 21-10. Was the half over? No. Marino to Mark Clayton, forgetting the Marino to Sims combination. That gets it with 1 second to go for the gun of Pete Stoyanovich. From 53 yards, it's good. What a last minute of the first half. 21-13. Kozlin's Jets on top. Third quarter, the Jets lead at 24-16. Brad Baxter running the ball for 13 yards. Later, on a third down play, O'Brien to Chris Burkett. Here he's the hero, first on special teams, now on offense, down to the 3. Then, Brad Baxter. They're forgetting Matt Snell. Actually, Mark Smolinski wore number 30, if I'm not mistaken. 15-play drive leads at 31-16. Almost 9 minutes chewed up on the clock. We remember him, Freeman McNeil. He can still run. You saw it on Monday night. Look at the veteran go. He could go all the way. I did to myself. It's okay this time. It set up a field goal, though. And now for the Coupe de Grace. Picked off by Eric McMillan. Guess what he does? Go all the way. The Jets rolling it up on the Miami Dolphins. Marino's last play of the day was that one. Scott, won't you let me take you on a Seacules came in late, led him to a touchdown. but the Jets roll 41-23. The Patriots at the Cardinals. And all of us at ESPN, our condolences to Patriots coach Dick McPherson, who lost his brother just yesterday. So some heavy hearts for the Patriots, and they're down 7-0. But John Vaughn makes his coach happy here. Takes the kickoff. I won't say it because you know what's going to happen. It's a 99-yard KOR-TD touchdown. The Patriots have tied it at 7. Tom Tupa-Lohoney had a great first half. Here he finds good old Ernie Jones across the middle for a nice game, and Tupa showing some composure, Tommy.
Well, he's gotten much more comfortable in the pocket there. He runs around, finds Terrence Flagler for a 16-yard gain.
Joe Collier asking Fred Marion, where's the Patriots defense? And Tupa finds Johnny Johnson for a touchdown, and it's 14-7. Good first half for Tom Tupa in the Phoenix Heat. Could the Patriots get hot? Hugh Millen is popped by Ken Harvey. Then, Freddie Joe Nunn makes it even hotter for him. Millen, the hero last week, was only 12 of 21 for $115. But for Phoenix, they live in that heat. They can deal with it. Tom Tupa, across the middle, to Ricky Prohl Shampoo. He washes out the Patriots secondary for a 67-yard touchdown. It's 21-10, Joe Bugle and Coach McPherson exchange handshakes, and the Cardinals win it. They had a field goal. They had a big crowd against Dallas, only 26,000 close relatives. Watch the Cardinals beat the Patriots 24-10. Tom, let's go back to the Miami Jets game here. The Jets, first of all, for a young team showing resiliency after those 2 losses, they've got some skill, but they're building from the bottom up, aren't they?
Well, I think the key to any good running game, again, offensive line, that's where it starts. But I think that you keyed into it. Any of us that saw that Monday Night Football game, this would be an easy game to come into and fall flat on your face. They showed a lot of mental toughness for a very young football club.
And the Miami Dolphins are really struggling offensively, and Dan Marino would be the first to admit it. He has admitted it, that he's just not playing that well. And the Dolphins, they're 2-3, and they're struggling offensively, which you don't usually say about the Miami Dolphins. They did get Sammy Smith back today, though, so maybe that'll help them in the future. When we return, we've got the 49ers and the Raiders to show you. That's a head-hunting game out in the L.A. Mausoleum. And first, 300-yard passers in week number 5 on Sunday afternoon. The Hoffs in a loss. Tupa and Kelly in a win. The horror show coming up next. Niner fans did not want to see this. Ronnie Lott make it a goal line stand for the Raiders. Ouch. Favorite Dodgers, Lenny Harris, and one of the favorite Dodgers of yesteryear, Manny Quasimodo, one of their coaches, getting set for Dodgers Giants. Top of the hour. Join us. John Miller, Joe Morgan will be there for that pivotal game in the National League West. And speaking of pivotal games in Los Angeles, there was a football game played at the L.A. Coliseum between the San Francisco 49ers and the Los Angeles Raiders. The glory years of the Niners. They won 4 rings in the 80s. Problem today for San Francisco, 2 of their biggest names were across the line playing for the silver and black. The 49ers, Roger Craig and Jerry Rice and Joe Montana and Ronnie Lott. Only one of the 4 would suit up for the Niners today. Joe was on the sidelines. 2 of the 4 were suited up for the Raiders, Roger and Ronnie. The rematch was here. Here's Joe on the sidelines behind Coach George Seifert. Everybody knew it'd be hard hitting early. Steve Young learned about it, of the hungry Raider defense. And a guy that knows how to hit hard, Tommy, wanted Ronnie Lott.
Well, as you mentioned in the tease, here's Ronnie Lott on the goal line, doing what he does best, sticking his nose in, stopping Rathman short of the touchdown.
The Raiders also know Roger Craig. And Craig jumps off some of his old speed, an 11-yarder down the sideline, setting up a field goal by Jeff Mick Jagger to tie the game at 3. Roger carried for 44 yards. Good workmanlike day for Al Davis and the Raiders. Steve Young went into the game as the top-rated quarterback in the NFL, but he had a tough first half. The Raiders were all over him. The duck hook is picked off by Howie Long. Sets up another Jaeger field goal, 6-3, L.A. in front of 90,000 plus. Jerry Rice didn't have a pass thrown his way all half. Some unbelievable numbers. Art Shell tells Jay Schrader, you know, we got a speedster too named Willie Galt. Why don't you go up top for him? They do, and it works. Spins and picks up 22 yards. Then it's Schrader to Galt. The pretty catch. Setting up another field goal for Jeff Jaeger. Leading 6-3 from 49 yards. It's long enough. It's high enough. It's good. Jaeger was 4 for 4 field goals on the day. That was the Raider offense. Fans cooling themselves off, but the Niners offense cool all day. Young, incomplete to the youngster Keith Henderson. Why, Tommy?
Well, Sanjay Beach and Jerry Rice wide right, but you see they're beautifully covered as they go down the field by Crudup and Tarek McDaniel.
When the ball was thrown to Rice, watch the hit by McDaniel. Very scary moment. Jerry down for 2 or 3 minutes and the game was taken out. He did return. George Seifert's Niners down 12-6 late in the fourth quarter. Young starts to move on the Niners, finding Rice for 17 yards. Then Young to Mike Sherrard for 22 yards. Would this be a patented comeback by the Niners? The dump to Tom Rathman. Dumps Winston Moss with a stiff arm and picks up 12 yards. Sets up 4th and 7 and a big conference at the Raider 19. Young under pressure from Anthony Smith and Scott Davis. Looks for John Taylor. The good coverage. Incomplete. The game is over. Friends still. Don't believe all that talk. They are friends still. But it's the Raiders that move to 16-2 in the mausoleum under Art Shell, and the Niners, who lost to the Raiders 3 years ago in a game of only field goals, then won 18 straight on the road. Now this year they've lost all 3 road games they've played, and they are 3 back of the New Orleans Saints, only 5 games in. And for the Raiders, a big victory because, yeah, they're 3-2 and back in the hunt. Tough defense against the high-powered offense. That's old Raider football.
Well, you know, a lot of people will say, well, you know, they didn't get the ball to Jerry Rice enough, but credit where credit is due. I think the Raiders, they certainly have a problem sometimes when they see that run and shoot, but when they face a conventional offense, they have no problem at all.
Jay Schrader didn't look that smooth, and there's been some question, but I guess the defense will make you look good no matter what you do.
49ers are a pretty good ball club also.
Yes, they certainly are.
Even at 2-3.
The Niners, 3 back. That's hard to believe, but it's happened this early in the season. They have their work cut out for them, although, of course, they've yet to play the Saints. The Niners and the rest of the NFC West all have the week off next week, so they'll still be 3 back when they come back in week number 7. 100-yard receivers, Ernie Jones for the Cards, Mark Ingram for the Giants. They hit the C-note mark, as did the veteran James Lofton, Ricky Prohl, so a pair of Cardinals over the 100-yard mark for receiving. We'll have a final word or 5 when we return on NFL Primetime.